This is good. This is good. More like this, please. Yes, yes, yes. Although I got to admit, like, this is kind of an uncomfortable position right now as a Bulls fan. Like, some of you Bulls fans aren't old enough to remember the true glory days. Some of you are. Those of you that are know what I'm talking about. Those of you that aren't, you think of the Derrick Rose days when he was MVP, Derrick Rose. You think of those as peak Bulls years, even though you know about the 90s. And you just don't understand how far from reality that really is. But I can tell you, you're feeling a little bit of what it used to feel like in terms of the Bulls winning a lot of games. Obviously, I'm not comparing this Bulls unit to the 90s Bulls. Absolutely not. They didn't have the GOAT in Michael Jordan. They didn't have the biggest dumbass that I've seen, Scottie Pippen. No, let me not say that. He's trying to sell a book. I understand. Just like Pippen, a lot of times he said a lot of stupid things. I shouldn't be surprised. But that feeling of, not invincibility, although with the 90s Bulls, there was kind of that feeling of invincibility. Like, it felt so incredibly surprising when somebody actually did beat the Bulls. You're not at that level here, but you feel pretty good going into every single game that the Bulls can win the game. And this is a feeling that is refreshing, and it's very, very nice. And, heading into this game Wednesday night, I didn't feel any different about this Bulls team. I said, yeah, they've got Luka and KP, which they didn't necessarily have to face them last year in Chicago. It don't matter. They're going to beat them. And that's what they do. And they did. Now, the first quarter certainly was a good effort for both teams. The big difference, though, I think, was, and you heard Stacey King reference it during the broadcast in the first quarter, not so much just the Dallas going 12 of 13 from the free throw line in the first. Like, to me, that was a big piece of the puzzle for Dallas staying in it early because the Mavs were struggling a bit from the field, but they were able to get to the free throw line, put Levine in foul trouble, and able to slow the, stop the clock and get some easy points. That 12 out of 13 from the free throw line made a difference. But it was really that switch by Jason Kidd to the zone about halfway through the first quarter made a huge difference. And frankly, I don't know why the hell he switched out of it for most of the rest of the game. That seemed kind of ridiculous. Because when they went to the zone, the Bulls were having fits trying to figure it out. The Mavs were kind of forcing them into bad spots and tough shots and turnovers. And the Mavs closed out that first quarter on a 24-8 run. So that was a pivotal moment right there. When he made the decision to switch to zone and stuck with it the rest of the first quarter, I thought we were going to see much more of that the rest of the game. We saw a lot more man the rest of the way, and I didn't really understand that because the zone was so very effective. Dallas, as a result of that 24-8 run, spawned in large part by their ability to get the free throw line and convert at the free throw line. They were up 34-33 after one. Even with that said, though, it wasn't a bad quarter for the Bulls, even though they got slowed down with that switch by the Mavs to zone. 52% from the field, and most importantly of all, Vucevic got off to a good start. He had 9 points in the first quarter. That was good to see. Being down a few points in the first quarter if you're seeing Vucevic play a little better, because we know that's been a challenge so far this year. And what happened was he went to the second quarter, and the Mavs switched back to man-to-man, and that shit didn't work. The Bulls closed out the second quarter on a 14-3 run, and when it was all said and done, at halftime, the Bulls were up 61-54. So they outscored the Mavs by 8 in that second quarter, and I felt like in some ways it was directly attributable to Luka kind of having a bad night in general, and the Bulls made it kind of tough for him, certainly, with their defense on the perimeter. But it was the fact that they switched from zone back to man-to-man, and the Bulls started feasting a little bit. You got Zach LaVine with 15 points at halftime, which is certainly a welcome thing because we've been a little more used to seeing Zach LaVine start off slower so far this year in the first half. But Lonzo Ball, this was a big difference-making performance from him tonight. 15 points as well, but 5 3-pointers in the first half. The team overall was 9 of 17 from 3. Like Stacey King talked about it. I don't know if it's the cornrows or whatever, but whatever the fuck it is, whatever you did, I don't know if you ran a 4-way on some Instagram thotties. Do whatever you did before this game Wednesday, Lonzo, because that shit was working. You were on fire! To see Lonzo have 5 threes, it just speaks to another way. I don't know how sustainable it is, although Lonzo is shooting pretty well from 3 so far this season. It just speaks to the way that the Bulls can have 1 or even sometimes 2 of their marquee players have less than stellar nights, And they've still got other pieces, other players that could contribute in a big enough way to be able to win. And that's what's really intriguing and really exciting about this team as we go forward through the rest of the season. Also, the good defense that they played on Luka Doncic. He only had 8 points in the first half on 2-9 shooting from the field. He did not look like Luka, that's for damn sure. He just looked like some pudgy dude on the perimeter at the Y trying to enjoy his glory days that were never really glorious. That's kind of how we played. And coming out of halftime, the Bulls continued to pour it on a little bit. And, Alex Caruso was big in that third. He had 11 points. Again, defense, energy, hustle, the ability to get his own shot, hit from the outside. Caruso's been such a wonderful acquisition for them so far. Lonzo Ball dropped in a couple of more threes. He had 7 threes in the game. The Bulls also closed with a nice run to end the third, shooting 64% from the field for the quarter. Again, the Bulls were shooting well still in the first quarter, but they struggled to get their offensive flow going once the Mavs switched to zone. And then never were able to get that back, and the Bulls just kept feasting. And in the third quarter, they certainly feasted. That's why they were up 95-80 after 3. And then in the fourth quarter, they had enough. Like the Mavericks were just never really firing on all cylinders tonight. I know Porzingis had some moments in this game. He had 22. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 21. But Doncic might have had 20, but he was only 6 for 18 from the field. He was 1 of 6 from 3. He put up some numbers. And we're always going to talk about the rebounds and assists, but I don't care less about that. What was the impact on the game? The reality is, it felt like every time you turn around, Luka was missing a big shot. That was the impact on the game. So the Bulls deserve a lot of credit. I was really worried at first when they started off the game. I love Javonte Green, but probably should not be starting off the game with Javonte Green guarding Kristaps Porzingis. Feels like that's a matchup that's going to get exploited. But they did relatively well to defend against KP and didn't allow him to truly go off in a big way. And, kept everybody else on the Mavs relatively in line and made Doncic really have to work for it Wednesday night. That was really impressive shit. So the Bulls ended up winning 117-107. Zach LaVine finished comfortably with 23 points on 8 of 12 shooting. Lonzo Ball had 21 points with the 7 of 10 from three-point land. Vucevic was a little bit better tonight for sure with 18 points and 10 rebounds, so he's a double-double machine. He got another one. And it's important to pour it out. DeRozan had an off night from the field. He still had 17 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, but was not a great banner night from him from the field. He was missing even some of the mid-range shots you would expect him to make. But here comes Alex Caruso with 16 points off the bench. Here comes Ayo with some great energy. Here's Derrick Jones Jr. in the first quarter providing some energy and dropping some points. This Bulls team is exciting, and it's fun to watch them right now. And they're going to be in a big spot on Friday night. You're beginning this long road trip. I always used to think of it as the old circus road trip every year. And now you've got that Warriors team who's scary as shit and not even at full strength yet. You got them Friday night on the road in prime time, relatively prime time, but on ESPN. This is a big spot for the Bulls. And this is a real chance for them to make a statement. This is a real chance for them to kind of change the narrative a little bit more about them to saying, yeah, this Bulls team is pretty good too. Holy shit, this Bulls team is damn good. If they can go on the road and they can beat the Warriors, woo! I would even say if they go on the road and they keep it close with the Warriors but lose, it's like, how bad would you really feel about that loss? Now, maybe you get a little disappointed, if they had a chance to win and they failed to come through, but, not every win is a great win. Sure, it counts as a win in the win column, but you get what I mean. But not every loss is a bad loss because they could be learning opportunities. And they could be opportunity to show yourself just what you're truly capable of. And this game on Friday night is part of this, week-plus long road trip where you got, 5 straight road games against playoff teams from last year. It's a big spot for the Bulls. You want to establish that you're a contender in the Eastern Conference. It starts with that game Friday night against the Warriors, and I can't wait to fucking see it.